Okay, well, I'm Simon Hunt, and I work at ON.Lab on the web UI. And what I'm showing you is just a couple of features of the ONOS software. So the first feature that I want to show you is the concept of intents. So we have a topology view here, which is projected onto the map of the British Isles. We're just really running a mininet emulation of 12 switches and 12 hosts. And so if I were to get host number 4 down in Plymouth here to try and connect to host number 6, I'm going to say host 4, ping, host 6. And so we have no connectivity here because we need to program the switches. So what I'm going to do is in the UI, I'm going to select host 4 in Plymouth and then shift click to select a second host here, Brighton. And so I've selected 2 hosts, and now I'm going to set up an intent. And so that tells ONOS that it needs to provide connectivity. And you'll see now, hopefully, that the ping is running because we're able to send packets between these 2. So what I'm going to do now is just stop the pinging, but the intent is still there. So we still have that connectivity programmed into the system. And what I'm going to do is create a catastrophic event in London, basically taking that switch down. So if I were to type in the mininet command switch S1 stop, that's basically going to take that switch out. And what you see is that ONOS has detected that it can no longer route through London, so it's provided an alternate path so that the connectivity between Plymouth and Brighton has not been affected. And we can bring that switch back. So if I were to just start that switch up, now you'll notice that the path does not change back. And the reason for that is it's very disruptive to change your path. We had to change it in the failure case, but in the positive case where the switch came back, we have to be more deliberate about when we switch the path back. And so, we might have an application that is running and doing a global optimization at an opportune time. So that's the first little demo that I wanted to show you. And then if I can find my mouse, the other part that I want to show you is that we have just introduced the concept of dynamic clustering. So in older versions of ONOS, the cluster has been statically configured, which means that if we wanted to add a 4th or 5th node to the cluster, we have to take the cluster down, reconfigure it, and then bring the cluster up. And of course, at that point, you lose your control plane of your network. So what we've done now is we've written some code to basically allow us to bring a new cluster node into the cluster and bring it online without taking the cluster down. So the first thing that I'm going to do is essentially change the metadata about the cluster to bring in that new switch. And so by doing that here, what we've basically done is we brought a new switch into the cluster membership, but it still hasn't got the software running on it yet. So the next thing that we need to do is to basically bring that cluster node up. This is just shorthand for getting the code installed on this Linux box and then bringing the ONOS process up, and then it'll start talking to the other switches. And so you see it's now online, but we've got mastership of 4, 4, 4, and 0 at this point. But we have a background application that is monitoring the distribution of switches to cluster nodes, and it should actually detect that. And now you can see that we have 3, 3, 3, and 3, and that the 4th node is now actually mastering 3 of the 12 switches in our topology. And so the final part of this demo is what happens if a node goes down. And as you can see, we have the 3, 3, 3, and 3. So if I do the reverse here, which is basically to uninstall the ONOS software from this node, you'll see it go offline, and you'll see the other nodes in the cluster pick up mastership of the switches that it did control. So it's gone down, and you can see we have 3, 5, and 4. So it's not balanced, but they did immediately take control of those switches. And then that load balancing application noticed the discrepancy and has reconfigured the ONOS nodes to have 444. Okay, and then finally, I'm going to change the configuration of the cluster to remove this from the cluster membership. And so by doing that, we've now taken that out of the cluster and we're back to the original 3. And so that really was the demonstration that I wanted to give you. Thanks very much.